This is a gorilla. Your folks are both gorillas. You are a gorilla.
They propose revisions that always seem to involve less respect for the rights of free nations and less freedom for the individual. These matters would be difficult under any circumstances. They are further complicated by a trend in Western countries away from global engagement and democratic confidence. Parts of Europe have developed an identity crisis. We have seen insolvency, economic stagnation, youth unemployment, anger about immigration, resurgent ethno-nationalism, and deep questions about the meaning and durability of the European Union. America is not immune from these trends. In recent decades, public confidence in our institutions has declined. Our governing class has often been paralyzed. The American dream of upward mobility seems out of reach for some who feel left behind in a changing economy. Bigotry seems emboldened. Politics seems more vulnerable to conspiracy theories and outright fabrication.
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, a secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets.
Now, as you may know, my running mate, Tim, is Catholic and went to Jesuit schools. And one of the things he and I have talked about is this idea from the Jesuits of the Magus, the more, the better.
Hello and welcome, everybody. Today is Saturday, March 17th, 2018, and I am joined here with Jurk Glissman from Belgium. And Jurk and I are going to do a session of this wonderful book, Code Word Barbelon. Jurk, how you doing, bro?
Wonderful, Brett. Wonderful. I did quite some work during this week. I finished the reading of The Secret History of the Jesuits in English, including the two readings of each almost an hour of Yuki Goni's book of The Real Odessa, which I inserted in the reading. I did 30 parts of The Secret History of the Jesuits. Then I did two readings of the same Yuki Goni, chapter 3 in German also, finished that one. And that's done. And because I'm done with that book, I don't know what I'm going to read next, which book. So I picked up the 70 Weeks, The Historical Alternative by Robert Caringola that you sent me some time ago.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Maybe to read that one next, but I have to do a study on that a little bit, at least on page 53, on Thomas Newton's year-day principle about the 2,300 days, which is a big deception from the SDA, of course. And here seems to be even another deception in there, because it speaks about when in 1967, after the Six-Day War, the Jews again took control of the temple site after exactly 2,300 years.
Oh,
and the problem is that nation state of Israel is, according at least to my Bible studies, absolutely not biblical. And if they regain any control of any temple site, there is nothing left of that temple, because the temple was, according to Jesus Christ, destroyed with not even one stone left upon another. And that Dome of the Rock that they built there has nothing to do with the temple that was built there. So I'm a little bit confused with this part in the book, and that's why I did not start reading it yet. So this afternoon already I did one reading of the wonderful book from David W. Daniels, the guy who took over after the death of Jack Chick in mid-2016 of Chick Publications, who published the book, Did the Catholic Church Give Us the Bible? And with a little introduction, I only came to page 30 of 150, so I guess that will be a few videos more that I have to do, reading that animated book as a PDF, of which I have permission of David W. Daniels to do so, and I did the first hour already this noon. So good. Since then, I'm sitting here sharp, waiting for you to call, which you wonderfully did now.
Yes.
That we can continue our study in the book Code Word Barbelon, Danger in the Vatican by P.D. Stewart, because we are dealing in this chapter Behind 1,000 Masks, Loyola's Offsprings and Their Agents, with another mask they put on, because that is a secret society within the secret society of the Jesuits called Opus Dei.
Mm.
And we already spoke about that a little bit before, but I think we are going to get a little bit deeper into the subject right now. So is there anything else that you want to mention before I start reading? Then otherwise I would start reading on page 239 now.
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay, let's go. Opus Dei means God's work. Yeah? Opus means work and Dei means God. The order of lay and ecclesiastic members is the most controversial group in the Catholic Church today. The constitutions of Opus Dei, like that of the Jesuits, instruct members to focus their efforts on people with influence in civil society, those of high office or status, which is in the constitutions of the Jesuits, rule number 116. Opus Dei's inspiration and founder was the now canonized Jesuit Father José María Escrivá de Balaguer, born in Spain in 1902. He formed the order in 1928 to take the Jesuit order out of the limelight. Although publicly attacked by the Jesuits, this order is another successful offspring of the Society of Jesus. As G. Schuster wrote, quote, "Every time there is a crisis of extraordinary value, new Masonic orders are called forth, and that is how the Jesuits came into being." Unquote. Not surprisingly, the previous Jesuit general Pedro Arrupe commented, quote, "Seeing what they, meaning Opus Dei, are today, I see what we were yesterday." Seeing what Opus Dei are today, I see what the Jesuits were yesterday. So they are an advanced order, a even more superstitious order probably than the Jesuits themselves. I mean, before we go reading into this any further, I hope that our readers have any idea that these Opus Dei members have to chastise themselves every day. They have to wear chains and everything else to torture their body all day long. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Even the Opus Dei 2 or 3 judges on the Supreme Court of the United States of America, for the people who don't know that at least 2, if not 3 members of the justice of that court, of the Supreme Court of the United States of America, are members of Opus Dei. Mm-hmm. Quite an interesting quote here from Pedro Arrupe. Now, indeed, like the Jesuits, obedience is sworn to a general and other authorized persons. Like the Jesuits, Opus Dei has houses of numeraries, meaning the Jesuits call these houses novitiates, and celibate members. Like the Jesuits, Escrivá urged his followers to give special emphasis to literary endeavors. Quote, "We must wrap the world in printed paper," unquote, he would say. Today, Opus Dei periodicals have broken away from the institution's name, but not of its control. Some of Opus Dei's publishing arms include the Recoletos Group, Telva, Marca, Actualidad Económica, and so on, controlled by persons close to and under Opus Dei's influence, and now owned by the British publishing group Pearson. The 1950s and 1960s saw the expansion of Opus Dei outside Spain, particularly in Latin America. They supported the dictatorship in Chile and Argentina. Today, Opus Dei has an increasingly strong presence on U.S. college campuses, and following the tactics of the Jesuits, their recruitment efforts to attract new members have been to target colleges and universities. Many of the centers where Opus Dei numeraries live and are strategically located near prestigious schools, most of which are known Jesuit centers of excellence, including MIT, that is Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Northeastern Boston University, University of Notre Dame, Our Lady, UCLA, Columbia, Harvard, Boston College, Princeton, Marquette, University of Illinois, Brown University, Georgetown University, Rice University, UC Berkeley, Stanford University, University of San Francisco, St. Louis University, American University, and Loyola University, New Orleans. Almost every one of the above universities is Jesuit-owned and Jesuit-run. In the same way as the members of the Society of Jesus, every year an oral commitment to Opus Dei is made by its members, and after 5 years a vow of fidelity is made, a lifetime commitment to the order. Male numeraries are encouraged to consider ordination to the priesthood. After 10 years of training, those who feel called are sent to Opus Dei's seminary in Rome, the Roman College of the Holy Cross. All Opus Dei members follow the quote-unquote plan of life made up of spiritual practices, or in other words, the spiritual exercises of Ignatius of Loyola, which include daily mass, rosary praying, spiritual reading, and mental prayer, meaning contemplative prayer, and other Opus Dei prayers and customs. Thus, we discover here that not only are Opus Dei's policies and practices similar to those of the Jesuits, but even its spiritual initiation and its educational program is virtually identical to that of the Jesuits. God's work? Perhaps the Pope is that God. Scrap the word perhaps. The Pope is that God.
Yeah.
Opus Dei is a subversive agency of the Vatican inside of America and was the force behind the election of Antichrist John Paul II. And the Opus Dei Cardinal Julian Herranz was the reason for Ratzinger's, which is Pope Benedict XVI's, leap to the top of the list of candidates for election as the next Pope to succeed John Paul II. Ratzinger's nomination, quote, took shape at the suppers for cardinals that Herranz organized at Opus Dei's heavily guarded villa in the Roman countryside. Not surprisingly, on September 14, 2005, the feast of the exaltation of the Holy Cross, Benedict XVI blessed a 16-foot statue of Opus Dei founder, Jesuit Father Escriva, that has been placed in a niche on the outside wall of St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. That statue is adorned with the coat of arms for John Paul II and Benedict XVI. Opus Dei has important people in its ranks, such as the former head of the FBI, Louis Freeh, and thousands of prominent Roman Catholic businessmen and politicians who have given themselves over to Opus Dei. Even Mel Gibson is Opus Dei.
Comment.
Mel Gibson, who was the actor in Christ's Passion, a movie that has been made a subject in one of the parts of my uploads on my second YouTube channel, Behind the Door from Bill Hughes. But please, Brett, give us your comment.
Yes, there's a footnote on that last statement you just made. 1,000 prominent Roman Catholic businessmen and politicians who have given themselves over to Opus Dei. That is, see Pope's Armada, unlocking the secrets of mysterious and powerful new sects in the church, from London, Bantam Press, 1995. That looks interesting, doesn't it? To me.
Yeah, if you would get every book that is mentioned in the sources of this and other
there are
books,
choice ones. I think this one's going on my list. I don't know about you, Jörg, but I'm going to look this one up.
I'm just saying, if you're going to do that, you need 10 lives to get through all that stuff. I mean,
yeah, no kidding, man.
You know, there's so much information out there. In a way, Brett, we can be glad that when who was that? That Jesuit that French guy. He made so many quotes on the Jesuits. Fiddlesticks.
That's all
His
right.
His name will come to me a
remember
little
it
bit
later,
later on.
No problem.
He made the comment that in the 17th and in the 16th and in the 17th century there were more than 6,000 books available on the Jesuit order.
Mm-hmm.
And today we have only a very, very, very small part of those.
And even within those, there are authors that are involved in some pretty disturbing practices and influences. But what can you do? I mean, you just have to weed it out. It's like weeding a garden. That's the way I look at it. We got to weed these people. You can take some of their work and maybe part of it's good. But, I was just working on this video last night for Code Word Babylon 13. And here we are. I think we're in the 46th part today, Jörg. Yeah. And I finally got that in order, by the way. But so I was working on this. I found a video of yours from way back. I think 2013, maybe. It's called "Have You Ever Heard of the Secret History of the Jesuits?" ? And it's a 15-minute video, and it has some quotes from Eric John Phelps in it. And I just can't help but use it because what he says is so powerful. But the problem I got with Eric John Phelps is, of course, that he actually believes Francisco Ribera's doctrine is biblical. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I know you have a little bit the same problems with Eric John Phelps that I have, and I was the one who said from the beginning, well, take Eric John Phelps's history study and even control that here and there, because not everything that he tells you there is completely true. And be very aware when he starts preaching the Bible.
Exactly. I just wanted to say a little something about that, Jörg, because it needs to be said, And,
there is, in my humble opinion, that is my personal opinion, and you can, you don't even need to comment on that in the video section. I don't care for that because that's my personal opinion after all the studies I have done.
Me too. Yeah.
That I am convinced without any doubt that Eric John Phelps is a Jesuit coadjutor.
Yeah, I know, especially since he was in this open discussion with the author of the book Rulers of Evil back in 2006, was it?
Tapasausi. Yeah, Tapasausi. Yeah.
Yeah, and you and I both saw that online, the discussion they had. And the email exchange, or I don't know if it was posted. Was it a
it was an email
page?
exchange. It was an email exchange that was posted on Tapasausi's website.
Yes,
which is now taken down since a year or so.
Yeah, sadly.
So you can't trace this anymore.
Right.
And that Tapasausi, Eric John Phelps accused Tapasausi of being a Jesuit coadjutor.
Yeah, that's
when
right.
Tapasausi answered, how can you excuse me of that? And what are your points that you are proving that with? Without just making allegations, without any foundation. I want to discuss that with you. Show me your credentials. Yep. And Eric John Phelps never, ever responded to that.
No, he didn't. Right.
And Eric John Phelps himself admits that he has high-level Jesuit informers that give him information that he needs to update and write his book.
It's trouble.
So
trouble.
When you are working together with Jesuits in that kind of way, you cannot tell me that you are not at least a coadjutor, because they know exactly what they are going to give you and what they are not going to give you. And the problem is not that he withheld some information. No, the problem is that Eric John Phelps gains a reputation as being a guy to be trusted because he teaches most of the time history that is verifiable and that is true, that is true history. That is not the history that you are taught in schools and universities, that you can get out of normal library publications or whatever. But he publishes real history. Even there, of course, are lies in there, but 90 to 95% of what he teaches in there is true. But with that, he gains a confidence, and he gains not only confidence, he gains trust of his listeners.
Yep.
That when he starts speaking about the Bible, people are just hanging on his lips. And because he doesn't say, quote unquote, nothing wrong historically, then he cannot say anything wrong, quote unquote, biblically. And Eric John Phelps himself says there is biblical futurism. There is no futurism, there's no preterism, there's no historicism, but there is biblical futurism.
Yeah, that's
he
nuts.
is using casuistry, sophistry at its finest to make sure that he teaches the unfulfilled 70th week of Daniel by Jesus Christ. He said so, and I have an audio of that. Maybe you want to put that in the video here somewhere, Brett.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I think,
just send it over. I'll put it in the notes, and I'll do it. Yep, no problem.
I think I sent you that already some time ago, and otherwise
Sure.
I'm going to send it to you again.
Yep.
It's about a 5 minutes excerpt where he explicitly says that he does not believe that Jesus Christ fulfilled the 70th week of
I
Daniel.
have that whole session of his. Yeah, don't worry about it. I already have it. And there's other things too, more recent. There's more recent things he's done too on that same topic. But I don't mean to stir this into some kind of
No, it's not about that.
or anything against him. I just hope he repents of it and comes to the knowledge of the truth. I really do. But it's not that easy, is it, Jörg?
No, it's not that easy. And this is not, I'm not saying that to, how do you say that? To,
what would that be? Like diffuse, not diffuse, but there's another word.
I just don't come to
maybe
the word.
Defecate. I mean, you don't want to.
I don't want to insult Eric John Phelps or give him bad
he's done a
reputation,
lot of great research.
But
And
I'm just stating the facts.
Yeah.
And we can't go
It's a
around
problem.
the facts.
It's a real
And when
problem.
someone-
And
and when someone says-
it
and when
creates
someone says-
huge divisions, Jörg. That's the
Yes.
problem. It's creating huge divisions, and he wasn't able to sort this out at First Amendment Radio, and he got kicked out, and that was actually a blessing for me because I was listening to him on First Amendment Radio very often back in 2014. I think it was 2014. So when he got kicked off, I was very grateful he did because I stopped listening to him, So I tend to trust First Amendment Radio more than Eric Phelps, because it's the brethren, Jörg. We're all brethren. We have to keep checks and balances on everything, and when something is off like that, we got to deal with it.
Yeah, slander was the word I was looking for. I don't want to slander Eric John Phelps's name or quote unquote reputation. I don't care about his reputation because I have to tell you, like God, I'm no respecter of persons. I don't care what they do or what they say. I measure everybody by its fruits.
Good,
by its
Jörg.
fruits.
And
as God
I'm
does,
learning to do that too. It's true.
Because otherwise, I would still be teaching what man teaches instead of God.
That's what the Bible tells us. We can't be relying on each other. We have to rely on the truth, and that's Christ alone. Yep.
For do I now persuade men or God, or do I seek to please men?
Yeah.
For if I yet pleased men, I should not be the servant of Christ. Galatians chapter 1, verse 10.
That's
Right.
That's
I am no respecter of persons. I don't care. If a person does something well, then the deed that he does is good and is probably a fruit of him showing that he is saved and that he is a Christian. And if his fruit is rotten and poisonous, then it is a sign that he is not belonging to the body of Christ.
Yes,
And
that's
then
it.
I have no fellowship with him, because what fellowship does darkness have with light? And what fellowship does have Christ with Belial?
That's right.
None, And I understand Eric
Yeah.
John Phelps wants to make a living, but if he wants to make a living out of that kind of work, then he goes right against the Bible teaching that says, "Freely you have given, freely have you received, freely you have received, freely you give."
Yes, that's right.
You know,
That's
I
what it's
don't
all
ask-
about, Yerk. I
I
agree
don't
100%
ask
with
1
you
cent
and
for this
Tom
work that I'm
Press.
doing because I'm doing that out of I get my
Yeah.
reward in heaven.
That's right. We don't want
know,
an
as they
earthly
say,
reward, Yerk.
where
We don't.
Where your
It's
treasure
the
is, there is your
problem.
heart also, right?
Yeah, that's right,
And
Yerk.
if my treasure is here on earth, then my heart is also here on earth. But my heart is with the Lord.
I know. This is kind of the thing I run into too, Yerk. Here I own a house and I got all these bills and I got to work hard and pay for it, through these Federal Reserve notes, which are just pure evil. But, the whole world is tied to this evil. We have to deal with it. So
Yeah.
you just find ways to deal with it and you just go forward. You got to keep the faith and just, as tough as it is. And then when you deal with researchers like Eric John Phelps, I mean, he's one of the very best in a lot of ways. At first it appeared that way, but then, on real solid biblical study and studying all these old books, you just learn, wow, he's way off. Way off. It's sad. It's sad. He's only deceived himself. But let's
true.
continue. We're going on Mel Gibson, and you were going to say something about Mel Gibson and Opus Dei here.
Yeah, I said that Mel Gibson, the actor and producer of the movie Christ's Passion,
That's right. The Passion
that was part of one of the broadcasts I have on my second YouTube channel, Joggers War on Disinfo, uploaded in the series Behind the Door by
I gotta check that one out. Yeah, I saw that movie. The
by Bill
Passion,
Hughes.
I remember that. Yeah.
No, I never saw that movie.
Well, we had a Bible study group, and we went as a Bible study group to that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And little did we know anything about Roman Catholicism and the history. We didn't know jack. We were deceived. But such is life. You just move on, man.
Yeah, but this is also a very interesting little retreat that Tapasauce, I just wanted to say, that P.D. Stewart throws us here. Mel Gibson is Opus Dei, and a lot of actors, like, for example, Kevin Spacey, who you probably know has now reached quite a famous level with this series that he plays, House of Cards, where he plays first an ambitional
I don't follow
presidential
any
candidate.
of that. I don't know anything about it.
No, I only saw the first season of that some years ago, where he was ambition to get the presidential seat, and I think later on he even became American president. I don't know. I don't watch it anymore. But that Kevin Spacey is Georgetown University trained. A lot of actors, meaning people who deceive you via movies and television series, are trained by the Jesuits and under their Jesuitical training program, like the spiritual exercises, to gain your trust, to gain your sympathy, and then you follow them. I mean, who doesn't like Mel Gibson?
Yerk, it's
at the beginning,
absolutely diabolical what's going on in this country, Yerk, because we have these quote-unquote Reformed churches that have coadjutors planted in them deep, like my church that I grew up in.
Yep.
My, oh my, when you learn, I mean, I have my own little life that I've learned my lesson from, but I'm telling you that they teach these spiritual exercises in ways you would never, ever suspect until you've studied this and you get an idea of what it really means. And it is so subliminal, so deep, so difficult to weed this out unless you just cut and get out, just like in Revelation 18:4. Come out of her. Oh, it's just amazing. I don't know. I'm eventually I'll get it, but there's a lot to learn, Jörg. There's a lot to learn.
I just wanted to say about Mel Gibson. When I first saw Mel Gibson, I was about 16, 17 years old, and I watched these movies, Mad Max.
I watched
that dealt with a post-apocalyptic world.
Yeah, that's right.
And he was a policeman, so he was, of course, someone who gets the sympathy because he was one of the quote-unquote good guys.
Mm-hmm.
And that first part was kind of a special kind of movie, seeing the time that it was published, because that was about in the beginning of the 1980s. It was a really new kind of movie, the way they made Mad Max. And they made 3 movies out of that, and I watched them all 3. And of course, the third one is something you don't need to watch to understand the whole part. Even Tina Turner was playing in that one, in the third one. The Pleasure Dome, or something it was called. The Pleasure Dome was the song that came out with the same time that Frankie Goes to Hollywood and all that stuff. I mean, the point is, when I saw Mel Gibson in those movies, I liked him, of course, and then you watch this guy growing in this acting roles, and he did quite some interesting movies like Bird on a Wire.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I loved that movie. It's an action comedy with Goldie Hawn, and I really liked that one.
Mm-hmm.
But then you learn of what he did in Christ's Passion, and then you really get disgusted about it. And it is no wonder anymore at that moment when you learn that he is a Knight of Malta and that he is even a member of Opus Dei, and spreading their agenda. But let us continue in the book reading here. We have been a little bit deserted from the subject.
We got
a little bit sidetracked
by the side there.
Yeah. So it says here, even Mel Gibson is Opus Dei. Opus Dei is also very prominent in Republican circles in Washington, D.C. Where does your actual current president come from? What party? Republican, right?
Oh, yes. Republican. Mm-hmm.
The extensiveness of Opus Dei-affiliated foundations is revealed in an article entitled Escriva's Empire in the United States. Yeah, so we come to another mask, one of the 1,000 masks the Jesuits hid behind, which is called Knights of Peter Claver. Another Jesuit front is the Knights of Peter Claver Incorporated, which includes the junior knights and junior daughters of Peter Claver. The Knights of Peter Claver is the largest African-American lay Catholic organization, located in 39 states with 330 court and councils. The founder was Peter Claver, a Spanish Jesuit priest. The webpage of the Knights of Peter Claver confirms, quote, "Our patron, Peter Claver, born in 1581 in Verdú, Spain, of noble and well-to-do parents, he decided to become a Jesuit priest. Father Claver formed an elite group to assist in the services to others. These were the first real knights and ladies of St. Peter Claver. Peter Claver completed his stay on earth on September 8, 1654. Antichrist Pope Leo XIII declared him a saint in January 15, 1888. And thus we see, dear reader, that the Catholic Church, the papacy, the Vatican, has a vast army of auxiliary orders and associations that cover the entire world. Behind all of these fronts, Opus Dei, Knights of Columbus, Peter Claver, SMOM, Sovereign Military Order of Malta, that stands for, the Red Cross, etc., 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 the hand of the Jesuits is everywhere perceptible, all pointing unmistakably to the masterful work of that wily prince of the Jesuits, the General, the Jesuits of Rome have planted nightly and lay orders all across the globe. Mutatis mutandis, the members, most of whom are not even aware that they are under the discreet generalship of the Order of Loyola. Their numbers have been mightily swelled by the sodalities of Peter Claver, Opus Dei, Knight of Columbus, Xavier Union, and other like affiliations. Let's not forget, when we go back a few pages, Beta Kappa Phi Beta Kappa, and all these Greek letter societies, the fraternities, Phi Beta Kappa literary societies and all that stuff. All these are also in these mighty swelled sodalities. Yeah, you have to put them in here too. And other like affiliations, the author says. And through such affiliations, it doesn't make any sense here.
Sure, just drop it.
Yeah,
that's fine.
I first have to read the whole sentence to understand that it doesn't make any sense.
No.
Here. Through affiliations that Jesuits fulfill their commissions to go wherever the Pope might send them. Like Prometheus of old, the Jesuit is truly a man of every color. A chameleon, as we said. And now we learn that the Freemasons Tony Blair, George W. Bush, and even former Speaker of the House, the Republican hardliner Newt Gingrich, have all accepted the Pope as their spiritual head and the Catholic Church as their home. On March 29, 2009, the website of Christian America read, quote, Newt Gingrich is preparing to enter the Catholic Church at Easter of 2009, unquote. Other Republicans like Sam Brownback and Bobby Jindal have also been converted to Catholicism. It is also a fact that many high-ranking CIA officials are either members of the Catholic Knights of Malta or Opus Dei. No wonder Catholic priest D.S. Phelan confidently declared, all the emperors, all the kings, all the princes, all the presidents of the world are as these altar boys of mine. With such a host, such a legion, so powerful and so organized, what can the Church of Rome not achieve? You know what remembers me this of? That sentence that I just read. I just have to grab my Bible.
Go right ahead. Please.
I have to grab my Bible.
Yep.
And I have to open my Bible in the book of Revelation, chapter 13, because there it says, who's like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? This sentence of P.D. Stewart exactly reminds me of just going back into the book of God and the word of God. Revelation 13, verse, what was it that I just read to you? Verse 4.
Verse 4.
And read that to you. Well, there's only one question that I have for the moment, because I thought this book was published in 2006, right?
Yeah, right.
If this book is released 2006, how come we read here about events of 2009?
Good question. Maybe this is 2010. Yerk, hold on.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible that it is a later print, right?
Hold on. Let's see. Okay, copyright 2006, 2007, 2008, 2009, and all future editions P.D. Stewart and Lux Verby books. So he's been updating it.
It's just because in the beginning it says here also by P.D. Stewart, other books, expected release date December 2009 and August 2009 of this second part.
That's right.
When that said expected release date August 2009, it should have already been published, So
well, you look at this new work of his. He was going to release it. How long ago?
2016. In October.
Right. So here we are, 2018.
18 months later, and still no sign of that book.
He must be adding to it.
So I guess that this one was printed somewhere in the beginning of 2009, and that's why they could have updated it so far and brought the dates from 2009
Who
in here.
knows? It could be that he never really got it printed till 2009. I don't know. I have no idea. It certainly is a good book, though.
Yeah, surely. It's just I was raising the question because I thought this book was 2006, but actually this is probably then a little bit updated into this information of 2009 given in there.
Yeah. Be nice to have P.D. Stewart here. We could ask him.
Yeah, you can try to get a hold on him. I would really love to have him on the program one day.
Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would-
I have no idea how to reach the fellow.
Me neither.
I
We
never
can-
even thought of doing it until you mention it. So
Well, we can always send an email to Lux Verby and ask if we can get the contact dates because we want to interview him. So
yeah, well,
maybe that's possible. I don't know. Let's see.
we'll see.
Anyway, we were reading about this 2009 Newt Gingrich stuff here. Other Republicans like Sam Brownback and so on and so on. So, with such a host, such a legion, so powerful and so organized, what can the Church of Rome not achieve? God asks the same question to you guys. Who can make war with the beast? It was for this reason that the Jesuit professor Malachi Martin would boast that the Pope is, quote, the serene and confident servant of the grand design, and that if tomorrow or next week by a sudden miracle a one-world government were established, the Church would not have to undergo any essential structural change in order to retain its dominant position and to further its global aims. That is a very, very important little sentence that we read here. And the sentence is absolutely confirmed when you listen to the reading of Tom Frass on First Amendment Radio of Global Vatican.
Oh, yeah. Good one. Mm-hmm.
Vatican insider Malachi Martin is saying here that, quote, after 200 years of inactivity, the deadly wound has now been healed and the Vatican's global agenda is back on track. Counting back 200 years from 1991, when Martin's book was published, we get 1790, 8 years before 1798, when the papacy was stripped of its power by Napoleon, according to Seventh-day Adventist Church's teaching of the 1260 days. The Vatican is indeed a wise entity. She takes every step to ensure that her plans and objectives do not fail. As one writer said in the early 1900s, quote, the Roman Catholic Church is far-reaching in her plans and modes of operation, unquote. Likewise, said Prime Minister Disraeli, who was twice Prime Minister in the United Kingdom between 1876 and 1884, or 1886 if I'm not mistaken. The world is governed by very different personages from what is imagined by those who are not behind the scenes. And President Woodrow Wilson, the traitor who sold your country to the Vatican-controlled Federal Reserve Bank, disclosed, quote, since I entered politics, I have chiefly had men's views confided to me privately. Some of the biggest men in the United States are afraid. They know there is a power somewhere so organized, so subtle, so watchful, so interlocked, so complete, and so pervasive that they dare not speak above their breath when they speak condemnation of it. Cardinal Gimmons alluded to this when he said of the Knights of Columbus, wherever calumny against the Roman Catholic Church raises its foul head, they are ever ready, like true knights, to smite the enemy. How true was Jeremiah J. Crowley when he said that, quote, the Knights of Columbus's principal business is politics, Jesuitical politics. In fact, the Knights of Columbus have an acronym, MAC, M-A-C, which stands for their slogan, Make America Catholic. Reader, do these revelations not make you shudder?
Oh, no doubt. There was this quote here from March 29, 2009, the website of Christian America read, quote, Newt Gingrich is preparing to enter the Catholic Church at Easter of 2009. So did you know that Newt Gingrich married a Catholic and that she is the new ambassador to the quote unquote holy seat at the current moment?
Holy See. No, I did not know that. I even didn't know the name.
Holy seat.
I didn't even know the name Newt Gingrich until he popped up, I think, in the presidential elections campaign of 2008 it was.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Before that, I have never heard of Newt Gingrich, but you have to excuse me. I
Sure.
am a European. I live in Belgium.
I know. Well, when you follow these crappy politics, you hear about them all the time.
Yeah.
And he's just a Freemasonic dupe.
That is why, Brett, it is so interesting when you go into the first chapter of Rulers of Evil, Subliminal Rome, and he speaks about this Catholic layman who control everything of the daily American people's works. And he mentions there the name of Joseph Biden.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when that book was published in the beginning of the 2000s, Joseph Biden wouldn't have rang a bell.
Mm-hmm.
But Joseph Biden all of a sudden became vice president behind Obama, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Then all of a sudden, of course, that name rings a bell.
Yeah.
But you have to understand that over here in Europe, I don't busy myself with all the senators.
It's just
and
with me trying to follow the chancellors and all that.
It's all right to do that. But as much as or as little as you have information about what is in politics over here in Europe going on, on the inner circles, I have that same lack of information with the Americas going on.
That's what we face. But for Americans that know who Newt Gingrich is, you can just toss everything he says into the pit because that's where it comes from. These people are they're walking hell, and we're plagued with them, and people take them seriously. Like there's some kind of, a prophetic figure or something. Give me a break.
Yeah.
Politics is sick. It really is.
What do you think, Brett? Shall we cut our broadcast today a little short?
That'd be great, actually. That'd be just wonderful.
Because the next one, chapter 24, Order Out of Chaos, the Jesuits, their rise, fall, and audacious return, I think is a little bit complex and should be read in its own and not be mingled with 1,000 masks.
I know, because just the title of this, Behind 1,000 Masks, I mean, you're dealing with behind 1,000 hypocrites. And boy, they're active, man. These hypocrites are active. I mean, they just don't shut up. So
no, they don't.
No, it's interesting when they make revealing statements, but they don't make them too often. And they usually make them when they're out of power, not when they're in power.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Well, I was just amazed when you sent me that Georgetown University video with Obama sitting there saying, "Ooh, you and this world benefit from
the Jesuit principles."
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. I mean, wow. I mean, if we could only see that from a true Protestant perspective in this country, which you don't get. That's the point. They only give you the Jesuitical perspective, so it doesn't make any sense. Protestantism doesn't exist, Jörg, unless you become it yourself. And then the world is against you, just like Jesus. It's just incredible. I mean, just incredible. And to find you and Tom Friess and his Inquisition update, I mean, it's just it's a whole new realm. I mean, it really is. I mean, it really brings historical research into a new light. And I think that's what's lacking in this country. And it's not going to be that easy, is it?
Nope.
Around the world, really. Over there, too, huh? It's not easy.
Yeah, it's not that different over here than it is over there. I mean, I am in the belly of the first beast as you are in the belly of the second beast, and we have to deal with that reality, and just to make sure that we don't get too much entangled with the worldly affairs.
Yep.
But that we listen to Jesus Christ, who said you have to live in the world, but don't be of the world.
That's
And
right.
that's what you are trying to do, and that's what I am trying to do, and that is what we can only advise our viewers of the video and listeners of this video to do too.
Yeah, take
Live in-
scripture very seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, don't
Live-
be a
live by it.
part-time Christian. Don't
That's
make
right.
don't make Jesus Christ your hobby. Make him your main profession.
Yes,
Huh?
that's it. That's it. Make him your office. Take his Bible and try and sew that as close to your heart as you can. That's what we need to do. Memorize as much scripture as possible. Learn as much as possible. All the biblical lessons are important.
Voltaire.
Mm.
That was the name that I was looking in the beginning of the broadcast to. He made the quote about the Jesuitical books of the 16th and 17th century. Voltaire.
Oh, Yerk, I've been just starting to read about these books that I have, touching on the incredible history that's been lost about the French Revolution.
Mhm.
It is so incredible, that history.
1798.
Yeah. It's just wow. I mean, it's just that encyclopedia that I have is opening new realms in that area for sure. It helps, because you get a grasp on, okay, the Philosopher's Stone, okay, the alchemists, okay, the Kabbalists, okay, all of these incredibly wicked doctrines, really. They're doctrines of men, and we have a historical record of them. And it's absolutely incredible when you discover it and start studying it on your own. And that's really what we should get people, hopefully, interested in doing, because you just start learning more and more and more reasons why these Jesuits today are given so much power. So anyway, Yerk, maybe we should just close it down.
Yeah, that's okay for me. And next time we will continue with a new chapter. And,
Great.
Start quote unquote all over again.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Do you have a Bible verse you want to close with, maybe?
No, I just don't have a Bible verse to just close with. It's there are so many important Bible verses, but lately I am really torn every time to just mention for everybody to study for itself. Ephesians chapter 6, verses 10 through 18. Put on the whole armor of God. Understand what the whole armor of God is, what the seven weapons are, and understand that we are not fighting a carnal war, a fleshly war in this world, but that we are entangled in a spiritual warfare, and that we fight against principalities and powers in high places. And therefore, especially, Brett, especially to the American brethren, who are so indoctrinated with their amendment of their right to wear guns, to bear arms. What for? When you're a Christian, you don't need a carnal arm. The only arm you need here in the world is the book of the Word of God in your hand. That should be your sword and nothing else.
Yeah, the carnal sword is no good. Yep.
Don't get entangled with the world. Don't let man teach you that you have to have carnal weapons.
Yeah, it's in the book of
yourself.
Revelation, Yerk. In the beginning of the book of Revelation, it says that those who read the book and study it will be blessed. So we got to take the book of Revelation as a very, very important lesson to our Bible studies, because, those who kill by the sword die by the sword. You're going to kill with a gun. You're going to die by the gun. Is that what you want? Make up your own mind.
Well, the point is, Brett, whenever you get the chance, whenever you stand in front of the devil, just imagine that.
Yeah.
And you wear a carnal sword, or you have a machine gun, or a Kalashnikov, or even an atomic bomb. You can use them all. He will just laugh at you.
Yeah, that's right.
You hold up the true inerrant word of God and the 1611 authorized version of the King James Bible. He runs. And with that, I want to end.
Thank you, Jörg. We'll see you all next time. Bye-bye for now.
That for the first time in human history, for the first time in all of human history, almost all of mankind is politically awake. And these new and old major powers face still yet another novel reality, in some respects unprecedented. And it is that while the lethality of their power is greater than ever, their capacity to impose control over the politically awakened masses of the world is at a historical low. I once put it rather pungently, and I was flattered that the British Foreign Secretary repeated this, as follows. Namely, in earlier times, it was easier to control 1 million people, literally. It was easier to control 1 million people than physically to kill 1 million people. Today, it is infinitely easier to kill 1 million people than to control 1 million people. It is easier to kill than to control.
We're at the very beginning stages of a very brutal and bloody conflict. And I believe that we've come horribly off track in the years since the fall of the Soviet Union. And we're starting now in the 21st century, which I believe strongly is a crisis both of our church, a crisis of our faith, a crisis of the West, and a crisis of capitalism.
His son Jesus is here in our midst. His bride, the church, is honored to host an event affirming the dignity of the human person and the sacredness of all human life.
I think Russia is no longer a communist state, first of all. That's very important to realize. It hasn't yet defined itself, however, effectively as a democracy. It is still uncertain.
We're at the very beginning stages of a very brutal and bloody conflict, of which if the people in this room and the people in the church do not bind together and really form what I feel is an aspect of the church militant, if the people in this room and the people in the church do not bind together and really form what I feel is an aspect of the church militant, to really be able to not just stand with our beliefs, but to fight for our beliefs against this new barbarity that's starting, that we will literally eradicate everything that we've been bequeathed over the last 2,025 years.
You didn't mention the president by name, but it was hard not to conclude that that's who you were referring to. Is that fair?
I was certainly referring to the threats that we are now facing with this stated goals of this administration, which would upset the last 70 years of a new world order, which was established after World War II. 70 years based on human rights, respect for the law, free trade, all of the things and aspects of this world order that took place after one of the most horrific, terrible wars in history, and I'm for maintaining it.
We are grateful to be citizens of one nation under God, who acclaim this evening that in God we trust. Bless our two candidates, our benefactors, and those whom the L. Smith Foundation has been honored to serve for 7 decades. Guide us safely home, both this evening and for all eternity, through Christ our Lord. Amen.